fall off the stage, please.
I'll try not to.
Okay, greetings. Welcome to our panel presentation by two outstanding communicator groups that demonstrated the impact collaboration can have on a major campaign or project. We will hear first from communicators from Missouri, Iowa, and Western Wisconsin who came together to create the year-long Exploring Intersections discussion series at the request of their leadership teams after a regional LCWR meeting. Next, we will hear from communicators in the Chicago area who joined together in hosting a Meet Our Sisters tour at several locations throughout the city. Please hold all questions until the end of both presentations, when we will invite two panelists from each group back to the stage to respond.
Good afternoon. We have all heard the parable of the mustard seed.
You know what? I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Tricia Buxton with the Since Now Dominican congregation in Wisconsin, and the panelists will also introduce themselves quickly before they begin presenting. Okay,
Thank you.
sorry.
I'm Sister Sally Harper from the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet. Are you going to introduce yourself?
Nope, you're
We're really well organized, I want you to know. We have all heard of the parable of the mustard seed and how such a tiny seed grows into a large bush where the birds of the air can make their nests. That would be a perfect description of how the adventure called Exploring Intersections came into being. In March of 2020, just before the COVID shutdown, there was a meeting of Region 10 of the LCWR in Dubuque, Iowa. This region includes Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri, and a little piece of Wisconsin. The presidential election was on the horizon, and during the meeting, some of us were lamenting that the words pro-life were heard as only applying to the issue of abortion, when there are so many other areas that need to be included in our efforts to fulfill Jesus' promises. I came so that you might have life and have it abundantly. Near the end of the meeting, 5 of us offered to form a committee to see how we could bring these pro-life issues to the fore. We were a daughter of charity, a Franciscan sister of Mary, school sister of Notre Dame, Sisters of Charity of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and the Sister of St. Joseph of Carondelet. We chose the emphasis that the LCWR was using: racial justice, inclusive migration, and care of creation, and added to these issues 9 more areas that would be considered pro-life: gender equality, affordable housing, access to food, human trafficking, economic justice, restorative justice, education, access to health care, and gun safety. Then we began to talk about the how to get the message out before the election. This is where one of us had the brilliant idea, and of course, obvious idea, of asking the communicators who work with us and work with our congregations about how to proceed. That was the very best decision that we ever made. The conversations began with these women who definitely know their profession, and they brought the richness and understanding of their experience of working with women religious, and were not afraid to encourage us to think outside the box. They helped us to move from the time constraint of trying to do something before the 2020 election to looking at a more long-range plan. They moved us from thinking of the written word to using social media, and they moved themselves beyond their normal geographic boundaries to develop a coordination between the St. Louis and the Iowa communicators. The result of all this expertise, creativity, collaboration, generosity, and goodwill resulted in a 13-month series of panel discussions around these pro-life topics that we are halfway through. It has been a wonderful experience. On the part of the 5 original sisters, I would like to express our profound gratitude to the communicators who have made this project become a reality. This program would have been impossible without them. It has been a wonderful experience of collaboration and creativity. Thank you.
We're still going. So I'm Kim Westerman. I'm the Congregational Communications Director for the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet. So as Sister Sally said, the sisters on the leadership teams from LCWR Region 10 had this big idea, and they were thinking of a social media campaign, and they brought that to us. So how do we as communicators make that happen and get everybody on board from all these congregations? There's already 2 existing groups that in our region. We have the Communicators for St. Louis Sisters, which is a group of 17 congregations in the St. Louis area that meet monthly. And then Sisters United News is a group of congregations in eastern Iowa and western Wisconsin. So we had the corresponding communicator for each of the sisters on their envisioning committee join to become our own little steering committee. So we were volunteered, and the 6 of us met and just thought through what our big questions were. And we kind of thought that the leaders maybe jumped to the how. They thought, let's do social media. So we wanted to dig into more questions like the why and the who. In talking to them, we found out that the audience was really, first and foremost, internal sisters and ACOF and friendly folks, and hopefully reaching more outside people. And then also the why was to respond to that LCWR resolution, which was focusing on intersecting issues. So that was really calling for some deep, nuanced conversation. So the more we talked about it, we felt social media, strictly social media, was not the right avenue to go because we couldn't get deep, and we would be talking more to outside folks than to our inside folks. So we decided to propose something bigger, and we thought of a series of conversations. And even though that was bigger and it would require more energy, we found that just talking about that in this different way gave us more energy, and we were excited about the project. So together with our sister subcommittee, we wrote up a proposal. We presented that to the leaders at their next regional meeting, and we also got our communicators on board at our monthly meetings. And then we had to talk about how to make it happen.
Okay, I'm Leah Wan, Communications Director for Collaborative Governance. So since we opened our big mouths and decided to make it such a big project, we knew with a project of this many moving parts that we would need to divide up the work. So in order to make it more manageable, we created 6 working groups. Each working group consisted of 1 steering committee member, communicator, and then we asked our fellow communicators to volunteer for a working group that appealed to their strengths. So I'm just going to run through the working groups really quick. The first group is host selection and support. And this committee, that's actually my committee, we were tasked with selecting a wonderful host. And you may have heard of her. Her name is Cherish Badzinski, and she's been a workshop presenter to us here at CWR. And our group also provides support to Cherish on each month's script and questions for the guests for each episode. The second working group is speaker selection and support. This is a very, very big group that has a lot of work to do. This group works hard in advance of each episode to select our guests and make sure that no one community gets more time on the episodes than any other. We wanted to make sure that there weren't 3 Daughters of Charity every month, speaking, that type of thing. Our goal each month is for 1 sister and 2 lay experts around the topic, but it doesn't always end up that way. The third group was artwork and website, and if you haven't already, please take some time to visit our website, exploringintersections.org. This group worked with Alan Johnson, who has worked with CWR before, to create our beautiful logo and our branding. And then this committee used these to create our great website, our ads, and then they also upload each episode. They also help upload what each episode is about. The fourth working group is technology. This group was tasked with getting the episodes on Zoom, creating our YouTube channel. They also are working hard behind the scenes during every episode, troubleshooting problems, and then fielding questions from our audience that are given to Cherish as they happen. Working group number 5 is promotion, which Caitlin is Oh, I'm sorry. It's Kim. I apologize. They both begin with a K, okay? They create our Facebook posts, our ads, and help get the word out to increase traffic to the website and attendees of the website. They also create a toolkit that we can all use every month in order to get the word out so it's ready to go. We can put it in our newsletters, Facebook, that type of thing. The last group, sorry, I jumped ahead, is post-production, and Caitlin will tell you about that in just a second. But I want to just give you a little vision of how many people are actually involved in this project. These are all the communicators, and there are some in this room right now. So if you're a part of it, please stand and accept the applause from our friends.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Caitlin Holdmeyer. I am the communications manager for the School Sisters of Notre Dame. Our production of Exploring Intersections has 3 stages, as most projects do, pre-production, production, and post-production. So Leah has shared most of this with you, but I'm going to cover it anyways. Pre-production involved creating design that kept it consistent across the board. We opened specific accounts with our brand for Facebook, YouTube, Buzzsprout for our podcasts, and even a website to manage our followers and brand consistency. In order to maintain consistency, we have the same host every month and at least one sister expert. And we also set a date and time every month, which is currently the second Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Our production includes one speaker meeting a week before the live recording and doing a bit of practice with the Zoom and meeting each other to get comfortable, which is great for all of them. Then the conversation is recorded live on Zoom and YouTube with the host and 3 experts. Then the post-production, we recorded live video, then it gets saved to YouTube and becomes a podcast. Through Buzzsprout, we are able to share the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. We then create text snippets and Buzzsprout from the conversation and use the image to promote the episode on our Facebook page and website. As you can see on our analytics, we have our monthly average on Zoom, YouTube, and podcasts. This graph also shows engagement through our Zoom subscribers, website list, e-newsletter subscribers, YouTube, and Facebook. All of this would not have been possible without the amazing hosts who graciously agreed to spend 13 months working on this project. Cherish wanted to share a little bit about her role and the St. Louis Communicators with you in this video.
We tested this.
Hi, I'm Cherish, and I have the incredible privilege of hosting Exploring Intersections, Catholic Sisters on Racism, Migration, and Climate. It continues to be an awesome journey, and one for which I am profoundly grateful. We've all been through a lot over the past several years, and this program is unique in that we're unafraid to have the difficult conversations. Forget hot takes, memes, or tweets intended to burn. We get real about some of the biggest social issues of our time and how they intersect to create mass injustices. We explore the nuances. It's refreshing and enlightening and empowering, and I hope a salve for the social justice seeker's soul. But more than that, I believe we're providing a guidebook with these conversations that can help us all lead a values-based life. That's big. I want to thank the visionaries who conceptualized this series and all of the talented professionals who work behind the scenes to make this incredibly ambitious project a reality every month. All women, I might add. Thanks for caring about these complex issues. Thanks for letting me play a small role. And thank you for watching, listening, and sharing these conversations.
I'm Belinda Davis, and I'm the Communications Director for the Daughters of Charity Province of St. Louis, based in St. Louis, Missouri. And it really has been a privilege to work not only with our St. Louis communicators, but also with the Sun communicators, two of whom should be on the stage right now, Angie Connolly and Lisa Martin Bellamy. So just remember they're part of this big steering group of communicators. Well, now you've seen it. I'm the closer, so you've been presented the project. Earlier today, we talked a little bit, and some of the sisters mentioned the importance of dialogue. Someone also mentioned soccer as a team. Well, we've built the team. We have the program. We have the website. We have the Facebook page. We have the YouTube channel. We have the podcast. We know we're going to continue through March of 22, National Catholic Sisters Week. What comes after that? The team needs a new city. It needs a new owner. We are looking to all of you to possibly think that this is something you might consider taking on. It doesn't have to be a monthly project. It could be quarterly. It doesn't have to be the same topics. You could choose your own topics. Anyway, we invite you to consider, and any of us, and Lisa and Angie, would be happy to talk with you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Exploring Intersections crew. One thing I'll mention, it was a little bit hard to see the slides as far as numbers are concerned. So when it comes around to question time, just give the audience a little bit of an idea about the audience here, how our audience has grown since we started this. I think that is an interesting piece, and I don't know if people could see that very well. Okay. Now we'll have the Meet Our Sisters Tour panelists come forward, and be sure to remember to introduce yourselves by name and congregation before beginning your piece.
Hi, I'm Tammy Townsend-Denny, formerly the Communications Director with the Sisters of the Holy Family of Nazareth, which is the organization I was with when we did this project. I'm currently the Executive Director of Teresians International. So our project had 3 people involved in it the first year. It was myself, Siobhan, and Sophie, who was formerly with Giving Voice, who is not here. Sister Beth came on in the 3rd year. So we're an example of a very small project coming together in collaboration. And this is a communicator-led project rather than coming from leadership. So kind of a little bit of a difference from the Intersections project, which is amazing. I'd love to do that. Okay, let's see if I know how to use this. Okay, thank you. Maybe. Okay, let's see. No, it should. Okay, what am I doing? It is on. Power on. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So I'll make this really fast because probably some of you may have watched the webinar where we talked about this. But this came together as a group of Chicago communicators wondering what we should be doing for National Vocation Awareness Week. Closer. Thank you. I hate microphones. Okay, there we go. So we were inspired by a program in the Chicago area called Open House Chicago, which is hosted by the Architectural Foundation, where they open up different architectural sites and buildings around Chicago and invite people in. And you really do it as your own tour. We were also inspired by some of the passport programs of tourism and began to brainstorm how could we collaborate on those, realizing there were some incredible heritage rooms, chapels, ministries in the Chicago area that people may not be aware of. Our idea behind this was to create a culture of vocations, and we wanted to raise awareness about the Catholic sisters in the Chicago area. It was not about recruiting vocations. This was not a vocation event. We wanted to build that culture. We wanted the grandparents, the parents, the aunts, the uncles, the average person to know, hey, Catholic sisters are around and are still doing amazing work in the Chicago area. Kind of went through that. making them, there we go. So what we envisioned was an umbrella event that would allow each of the congregations or communities really to create their own event. So we went out to the communicators in the Chicago area, the congregations, the ministries, to say, hey, what would you like to do to be a part of this? Again, it was not a vocation event, not intended to be that, and it was also not an event intended to attract hundreds of people. Again, we set our mission to raise awareness, not to attract bodies to come into the door. We wanted people to be aware of what was going on. It was about building relationships that we wanted to establish across the Chicago area among Catholic sisters, and helping people to become ambassadors for religious life. What we looked at was it was not necessarily those who were going to be walking in the door, but that would see that, hey, Catholic sisters are around, they are doing amazing things, and can continue to spread the word to those who are, in their families, their parishes, their workplaces. Right. And then I will hand it over to Siobhan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Siobhan O'Neill-Maluso. Thank you, Tammy. I'm the communications coordinator for the Benedictine Sisters of Chicago and the inaugural Chicago chair for the regional group. So just to back up just quickly, we wanted to have an opportunity as CWR members to get together, maybe collaborate, commiserate, all these wonderful things. And so we landed on this project to do together. And so we've been doing it together for the last few years, since 2019. So we are presenting it to you as well so that you can also do it yourself. So how to do it? So you want to decide to do it first, and then give yourself some time to plan. 6 to 9 months is a good period of time, but if you feel you all are ready to go, you could probably do it in a couple of months. And you want one contact person to sort of feed in all of the information, the participants. So all of us put together this umbrella project, as Tammy said, but all of us have individual congregations who were part of the stops on the Meet Our Sisters tour. So we wanted to come up with creative things for each of our stops as well. Next. So we have some materials. We have our Most Passport. Advance, thanks. And we have a social media kit. And we also have a web page on the CWR website as well, and bulletin inserts, as well as a press release. So all of these materials are what we have put together for ourselves, and we give to you as CWR members as well. And your budget could be low or no. You could really do this on a shoestring, because we've provided all of this collateral for you to help promote and get the word out. Next. Next, good. This is all the flashy stuff, cool. All right, so in 2019, way back when, we had our first Meet Our Sisters tour in person. And then 2020 happened, we know what happened there. And so we decided to convert it to virtual. So we did it for the first time 2 years in a row. So now this year, 2021, we're gonna kind of do a little bit of hybrid and offer things virtually, but also some people might be able to come to some locations if there's like an outside opportunity for that. And next, thank you. So that's what we're doing this year. So one thing, again, this is an awareness campaign of a culture of vocations. So we decided to do this on National Vocation Awareness Week in November, but you could pick any week out of the year. Some people might need something creative for Catholic Sisters Week. By all means, this is a great project for that period of time as well. But please remember to just lower your expectations. Even though this is a tour and there are stops, some people may not even show up, but the awareness is what really traveled far. I mean, I think all of you, if you've been around for a couple of years, have even heard of this project, correct? Raise your hand if you've even heard about it. Yay, we did our job. You've heard about it. It's an awareness campaign. So that's part of the joy from this project, is that we have brought this awareness to all these amazing congregations that have ministries or mother houses in Chicago. And next. And Sister Beth.
Okay, and I'm finding it hard to see what's on the slide, so I'm going to move, if you don't mind. I'm Beth Murphy. I'm a Dominican sister of Springfield, and I'm our communications director. I did come late to the game here, but I think some of the things that we need to make this project work are, first of all, you need people, and you need the tools that you have. So use the tools you have, and don't worry about the ones you don't have. I think that's a really important key. You want to move ahead there, Brian? Thanks. So backwards to website. Oh, great. Okay, I'm going to try to go back. All right, so this was the logo that we use. Now, my congregation is not based in Chicago. We're based in Springfield. We have ministries in Chicago. But when we started to participate, our events were actually in Springfield. It was during the pandemic year, and so it didn't matter where we were. And we had 2 virtual events at our ministry sites. Okay. Social media is another great way, and the use of hashtags to help promote the events. And we all shared each other's events, so we multiplied the impact by doing that. News releases and bulletins. I think often that our parish bulletins are missed. There's the news release we sent out. We did pay to have Religious News Service send that out, and it did end up in some papers we otherwise would not have reached. Okay, and I think if I go, I'm not sure let's see if the next one. Yeah, all right, so I wanted to show you this one in particular. Parish bulletins are often a missed resource. How many of you are attentive to that in your own local markets? If a few. Don't forget that. If you're lucky, you have a diocesan clearinghouse. You can send a bulletin announcement to the diocese and it reaches all of the parishes. If you're unlucky, you're going to have to keep track of who all the bulletin editors are in a parish. And that's hard. I know that. We're lucky enough in Springfield to have a diocesan distribution, and that's how that particular ad end, that's a bulletin out of Tuscola, Illinois, a place none of you have ever heard of. But just the fact, and I'm sure we had nobody from Tuscola, Illinois participate in our events, but the fact that that was in the bulletin said to the people of that little rural community that there are Catholic sisters who are still active and doing things that are valued. And then the passport is another tool that it's a PDF basically that we can distribute to anybody who's interested in the program, and they can learn what each of the congregation's ministries are, what the event is for that congregation, but also other contact information for that congregation, anything that you want to put there. So that's another really important outreach and ministry site. Okay, the other thing is that assume you have success. If you're doing it, if you have things in social media, if you've got announcements in parish bulletins, whether or not you have a big turnout for your event or not does not matter. You've reached the goal of making it a community outreach and an awareness campaign. All right. And there are some Google searches for some of our events. I think they're a little bit hard to see. Okay. I think we're done. And then use the resources. And you've been learning how to do that all along, right? For example, we had 2 online events. Neither one had a huge participation rate. One of them, the quality of the video was great. Our sisters who presented from the Literacy Center in Aurora did a fantastic job. We recorded it. That video lives on our website, and people continue to go to that. The sisters tell amazing stories of the immigrant women that they're serving at that literacy center. And it's still valuable, even though there were very few people on the actual event. The other one, we had all kinds of technical problems. We were unable to save the video, but we took the content of the presentation and made a blog post about that. So there's always a way to make lemonade out of lemons, right? Even if you have less attendance than you're looking for. Okay, I think we're ready for Q&A.
Just one last thing. I don't believe we mentioned what our budget was. Our budget for the first year was $0. We had $0 to work with. The next year, Siobhan took a little bit of money out of her own communications budget for her congregation and put a little bit, it was maybe 500 for an ad. And we still operate on a next to nothing. We spent maybe 150 something for sending it out to the news service. So we operate on almost nothing for our monies.
And just one last thing. Meet Our Sisters Tour is something that is packaged and ready to go for you. We decided to do it as Chicago Regional Group project. This could be done with a federation. This could be done internationally because you can do it virtually, hybrid, in person. There's so many ways to do this wonderful project, and we encourage you to think outside the box and get together with a few friends in different areas and try the Meet Our Sisters Tour. You'll love it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for sharing. Okay, do 2 exploring intersections panelists want to come up to the stage? Okay, we'll go ahead and invite questions. Open it up for questions on the floor. If we have another mic, I can run a mic around. Do we have another one, Brian? No? Okay. Got it. Okay. Well, anyway, one question I had. Yeah, I was wondering about the numbers and the growth. So just go ahead and explain to people how that grew through the months.
I so appreciate you asking that because I closed my laptop that had the numbers on it. And, I think we have seen growth. I mean, we've had the tricky thing with analytics is we allowed everyone to register for the Zoom for the whole year, so it's hard to know registration-wise exactly what it is month to month. So our numbers here were average monthly. We had 320 YouTube views, 110 podcast downloads, and 315 people joining us on the Zoom call live. So I think that's pretty significant to me, and I think it's grown.
Yeah, what I would add is the YouTube, certainly the first month after we've had the conversation online live, then you start to see those numbers go up. So the first conversation was in March, National Catholic Sisters Week, and it had to do with gender identity. That has grown significantly now.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone out there have a question? If you do, just go ahead and raise your hand. Belinda?
These are for the Chicago, or this is for the Chicago folks. The bulletins, I don't know how many of y'all in your diocese or archdiocese try to penetrate that and make it happen. For us in St. Louis, we can put our content into an online portal, and then it is up to the parish secretary or whoever does that to pull it down or not. And I would say 98% of the time they don't pull it down. The bulletin is so crowded. So I don't know how you, maybe it's much different.
It's not that much different. We do have an arch link as well, but we have individual relationships with bulletin editors, and so that's how Sister Beth got in the bulletin, correct? Mm-hmm.
Well, it just depends on where you are. So I sent it to we call it it's a parish link that our diocese uses. And then I also reached out to the individuals that I knew would have an interest in this event and asked them to put it in their bulletin. And I think the other groups all did the same thing. Anybody who was a part of this project, who had a personal relationship with this parish or that also approached them on an individual basis. And that's often more how it happens. But I did not reach out to Tuscola. So they found that on the parish link and they put it in their bulletin. So it does happen occasionally.
Okay, anyone else? Oh, okay. Beth, yes, here you go.
So it might be that I didn't hear you correctly at the beginning. I thought I heard you say that you made the choice to go with this formula rather than social media because this is what I heard, and you can please correct me, because if you were using social media, you would not be talking to your internal audience. Did I hear that correctly? And could you talk to me a little bit more about that?
Okay, so I got the original call from my daughter of Charity, who was one of those 5 sisters that Sister Sally mentioned, who had been at the March 19, is that the right year? March 20, yeah, March 20, LCWR Region 10 gathering, in person still, because that was early in March. When we, as communicators for those same sister groups, got together, we thought, oh, really what they were asking was something I would call two-dimensional, something flat. A meme, would have been fine in their eyes. Something that was maybe a question posed, like, did you know that every time you, brush your teeth with a plastic toothbrush, you waste X amount of oil? Something like that. It was to be very simple in the sisters' eyes, and yet talk about earth, talk about racism, all the things that they really had as their focus from LCWR. And truly, it seemed not enough to us. And the request was for internal audience, so sisters, I believe Kim said, affiliates, associates, friends. But as we went further, it was okay with that steering group of sisters if others learned too. So some of our sisters have high schools. Some of them have, there's a college that's related still to the Sisters of St. Joseph. Those audiences would be okay. Tapping into the pool at Fontbonne University. We actually had a professor speak. So those were really great inroads. And I do agree with Sister over here that you do know more people than you realize. And that has been a blessing for us as people have tried to seek panelists. And we have had one man. Everybody else has been a woman. And we have tried to focus on women of color as a possibility in each conversation, and also young women, so that they will spread the word amongst those that they hang out with and know, so that it's not just, the 50-plus crowd, but we've got some 20s and 30s in there as well.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Any questions or? Okay, thank you, panelists. That was wonderful. We appreciate it. Okay, the next portion of this session is going to involve a little bit of musical chairs. So we've just seen and heard ways as we as communicators are already collaborating in 2 different regions. It's true that we are better together. What can be done better together with our regional and resource groups gathered here this week? We're going to take about the next 30 minutes to break into smaller groups by region or resource group. And I did have to do a little bit of mixing up with regions because obviously some people are not here with us. So bear with me as we kind of place people in geographical areas that might make a little bit of sense. Anyway, we'll discuss at those tables what is giving you energy right now. On your table, or actually I have them up here, and in your Yap app, there are going to be some questions to start conversation and fuel discussion among your table. Just choose 2 or 3 of those questions that you are most interested in discussing. There's no pressure to cover each question around your tables, and then be sure to introduce yourselves to one another if you don't know each other. Okay, so go ahead, everybody stand up and grab your things, belongings. I'm just gonna call different states or different resource groups. And if I could have one person from that state or from that resource group step forward to grab the questions, I think that would work well. Okay, the development resource group, do we have a development